it out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Back here where we need ya. Back here where we need ya. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back, my little crazy sweat hogs. Hope everybody's doing good over there. Beautiful day outside today. I'm going to have to go outside and cut my lawn when this is over. Hope everyone's having a great weekend so far. United States did win their opening World Cup game um, Friday night, 4-1 against Paraguay. Looks like they had an own goal. They didn't. That was very nice of them to get us going on the scoreboard by doing it for us. So, I do have to say the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service now presents a reading of articles and features from the New York Times from Saturday, June 13th, 2026. Your reader is Joe Gibbs. Again, hello to everyone. Let's see what we have here. Let me grab a little Pepsi Zero. Can't do it without it. I need a little caffeine. Hold on a second. All right, then. Now that's done. What do we want to read today? I used to pick out all my articles, but I thought, you know what? We're going to wing it all the time. I had to do it the one day when my daughter picked up a Friday paper and I had to run. And I thought, you know what? We're just going to take a look in the paper as if I was opening it up for the first time and start reading something. All right. So there's a guy named David Hockney. He was born in 1937 and unfortunately passed away 2026. Says prolific artist who put people back in paintings. And one of his paintings is a self-portrait. Suspenders on, glasses, gray hair, blue eyes, older looking painting. It says self-portrait with red braces, 2003. So David Hockney, the English artist who's deftly designed and suavely colored paintings, turned transatlantic attention to figurative and narrative art, beginning in the late 50s, early 60s, after decades in which abstraction had dominated. He died on Thursday at his home in London. He was 88. His publicist, Erica Bolton, confirmed the death. No cause was provided. He was 88. I don't know if I'm going to make 88, but I'm sure there'll be a whole bunch of reasons if I do make it to then. A native of Yorkshire, Mr. Hockney lived for many years in Los Angeles, long enough to refer to himself as English Los Angelino, and to create images that for many viewers captured the sun-soaked atmosphere of that city as surely as Joan Didion did in prose. And although his art was conservative in an era that also gave rise to conceptualism, he was very progressive in at least one way. He was one of the first widely popular artists of his time to make work with undisguised gay content and one of the few to take public stand against censoring homosexual imagery. His death came 9 months after the close of sprawling retrospective exhibition of his work at the Louis Vuitton Foundation in Paris. But even at one point, and I do have to turn the page here. He's now on page 18. Wow, there is on 18 a very big paintings of his. Very big paintings. case was not finished. Working out of his studio in London using a wheelchair, his health failing, he continued to paint. I just go on with my work, he told New York Times before the show opened April 25. When I come back from Paris, I'm going to carry on painting. And so he did. Continued to produce graphic-based, fundamentally illustrational art that existed largely outside shifts in contemporary market fashion that reproduced well in print and digital media. And that, in a succession of major institutional shows, attracted popular attention over 6 decades. David Hockney was born in a working-class family in small industrial city of Bradford, Yorkshire, on July 9th of 37, one of 5 children. His father, Kenneth Hockney, was a self-employed restorer of baby carriages and a rabid crusader against nuclear arms. His mother, Laura Thompson Hockney, to whom he was especially close, was a frequent subject of his portraits. David Hockney maintained close ties to his parents, returning yearly to spend Christmas with them until the end of their lives. He shared their Labour Party politics and his father's philosophically principled pacifism. Spotted as a talent early on, Mr. Hockney earned a scholarship to a local school, then faced with a prospect of being drafted in the British Army in his late teens. He declared himself a conscientious objector and did 2 years of alternative service as a hospital orderly. In 1959, he enrolled at the Royal College of Art in London. The experience of seeing major Picasso exhibition at the Tate Gallery the following year confirmed that artist as a personal hero to Mr. Hockney. Okay, and there is a couple other illustrations here of him. Looks like a show he did. This is a very large article and all different things on him. Okay. So a short trip to New York City in 1961 established his lasting attraction to America, a place that to him felt less sexually repressive than England. Inspired by his stay, he made prints based on William Hogarth's series of paintings, A Rake's Progress, but he put the 18th century morality tale about a young man's descent into perdition. In 20th century terms, Mr. Hockney had the hero cruising runners in Central Park, drinking in gay bars, and heading to jail. The episodes were depicted in a visually distinctive style, half abstract but grounded in realistic details. Okay, so Mr. Hockney's notion of painting as an immersive medium demonstrated in a late-life digital extravaganza based on large-scale projections of his work. Bigger and closer, not similar, and further away. Was also on display in his several much-praised theater designs. The earliest was for a staging of Alfred Jarry's Eubule Roy at the Royal Court Theatre in London in 1966. His others were for operas. Mr. Hockney had another stage success in 1981 with Parade, a triple bill of ballet by Eric Satie and 2 short operas by Francis Poulenc, Maurice Ravel at the Metropolitan Opera in New York. His designs for Puccini's Turandot, Wagner's Tristan, and Isolde, and Strauss's Die Frau were extravagantly painterly, bringing his art as close to abstraction as it ever got. Increasingly opinionated about art, he grew older and more temperamental. Mr. Hockney became even more insistent on the importance of human figure in art, phrasing in his conviction as a moral imperative. In a newspaper statement in 1979, he angrily criticized. Where does this go? The Tate as favoring abstract art in its acquisition policies, confirming the view of him widely held in certain parts of art world as an aesthetic reactionary. So this guy did a ton in art. This is a couple page article, and it is on page 1, A1, A18, and A19. There's another illustration, some of David Hockney's at the Louis Vuitton Foundation in Paris last year. He said that after it closed, he was going to carry on painting. This is a very nice, huge article. Some of his really cool paintings. He had definitely a fulfilled life. All right, so let's go on to a headline from history. Six top artists to Brighton UNESCO home. In June 13th of 56, 6 artists were commissioned to decorate the 3-pronged headquarters of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization under construction in Paris. The Times reported Pablo Picasso would contribute an interior mural, Joan Miro exterior ceramic murals, Henry Moore and Jean Arp were to design sculptures. Isamu Noguchi, a garden, and Alexander Calder, a mobile sculpture. The building opened in November 58, and reviews were mixed. Writing in the Times, the art historian Andre Chastel noted that while the quality of the work won recognition in the case of Principal Block, the Calder piece was badly located and seems to be trying to compete with the Eiffel Tower, and Picasso's gigantic composition was impossible to view from a sufficient distance. The make, no doubt, was to strain the nature of these buildings and introduce an assemblage of world art, Mr. Chastel concluded. All right. Who might we suggest? All right. 4 weekend recommendations for Around the Newsroom. Starting a new summer show. If the World Cup isn't your jam, the Culture Desk highlighted 30 alternative TV and streaming offerings to delve into this summer, including the final season of The Bear, a Netflix adaptation of Little House on the Prairie, an Apple TV crime caper starring Anna Taylor-Joy, and a feature-length finale to Heartstopper. Tune in at NewYorkTimes.com. I didn't know they redid Little House on the Prairie. I used to watch it all the time. We were stuck watching it when I was a kid all the time. Trading lists for lightsabers. As the classical music industry grapples with modern challenges, orchestras across the country are turning to live performances of film soundtracks in hopes of making a pop culture appeal to a broader audience. Spend an evening listening to the music of Harry Potter or Star Wars. Maybe you'll return to sympathy for Mozart or Beethoven next. NewYorkTimes.com/music. What about number 3, snagging an impossible table? Beyond the NBA Finals, the most heated competition in New York might just be hunt for an elusive reservation at one of the city's busiest restaurants. But fortunately for the basketball avers, the Knicks title bid has made that search a little easier. During Game 4 on Wednesday, tables were within unusual reach at spots like Via Carota and Tatiana. If you don't mind missing Game 5 on Saturday, now that's the time to finally give them a try. At NewYorkTimes.com/style. How about going on a revolutionary bar crawl? In America, colonial years, the local tavern wasn't just a place to grab a pint. It was a place of community, somewhere to gather and hear the latest news from those passing through, and an epicenter for planning a revolution. Take a seat on General George Washington's bar stool and raise a glass to the founders from Warren Tavern in Boston, named for the physician who died in battle. To the 76 House in Tappan, New York, where a notorious British spy was imprisoned. To the haunted Cranberry Inn in New Jersey. Plan your route ahead of semi-quincentennial at the NewYorkTimes.com/travel. My dad used to do a bar crawl. It was down Elmwood Avenue. How many people have tried that? You start all the way at the end of Elmwood. You have a beer at every bar, and you just go boom, 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 boom. And somehow you end up home. Who knows? Because there is a ton of bars on Elmwood still, which would make it very difficult to even have one drink. But him and my uncle used to do it all the time. It made for some interesting Saturdays. That I can tell you. What is this here? Here to help. How to improve your balance to prevent falls. All right, then. More than 1 in 4 people age 65 or older fall each year. Lack of muscle strength is one reason falls increase with age. Another is a change in proprioception, which is the body's ability to sense its own movement and orientation. Here are some ways to improve your balance and avoid falls as you get older. All right, this could be useful. Balance while you brush. Susie Elder Murphy, the managing director of the Aging Life Care Management Practice, Aging Well Elder Care, suggests building a balanced practice in your toothbrushing routine. In theory, all of us are brushing our teeth at least twice a day for 2 minutes, she said. So practicing standing on one foot for a minute and then the other foot for a minute as you brush. All right, then. Stand on something soft for a greater challenge. Any foam pad can increase the intensity of the balance workout, said Dr. Eric Topol, a cardiologist and author of Super Agers. Start by standing with one foot on the pad and one on the floor. Then work up to standing on the pad with one leg and eventually doing that while bending over and touching your shins. Use a Bosu ball or Basu ball, which is like half of the balance ball, can challenge you even more. Consider toe shoes for better foot strength. Our feet, for the most part, have become slabs of meat because we don't use our toes, said Dan Buettner, a longevity researcher and founder of the Blue Zones Project, a community-based well-being initiative. Strong toes are part of balance. To strengthen them, he recommends wearing toe shoes such as Peluva's barefoot-inspired shoes, which have thin soles and 5 individual toe slots to make you use your feet and your toes, he said. Oh. Another thing you can do, eliminate tripping hazards. That's right, people. Get the junk out of the way so we don't fall over it. Let's not have some OSHA stuff going on at the house. Okay? Get the stuff out of the way. Eliminate tripping hazards. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 37,000 older adults end up in emergency rooms each year tripping on rugs and carpets. Dr. Roseanne Libzik, a professor of medicine in the Department of Geriatrics and Palliative Medicine at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai in New York City, that was a mouthful, recommends removing throw rugs from your living room, or at least equip your rugs with pads underneath to reduce the tripping risk. Dr. Lipsick also suggests decluttering your home with an eye toward relocating and removing household items or furniture pieces that might cause you to trip. All right, people, that sounds good. Let's be careful out there. Let's watch our stuff. No home OSHA issues. Okay? I want nobody falling. Summer's just starting. We don't need that walking boot. You always see people right away with the walking boot. It's like, oh, God. It's only June. How did you do that already? But you see it. So let's go over some facts of interest. Maybe it'll interest you. Maybe it won't. But they're facts of interest. And here we go. Last year, cyber criminals defrauded Americans of nearly $21 billion with about 893 million in losses linked to AI, the FBI reported. Oh, the AI is just wonderful. We should keep going and diving deeper into the AI. We open up all these businesses, let AI run your business. Meanwhile, people are using AI to defraud people of 21 billion, in which 893 million was in losses linked to AI. That's just wonderful. It used to be just a lady that worked accounts payables down at the church. She'd snag a couple 100,000, and eventually they'd wake up and say, "Hey, where's our money?" And it was always the woman in accounting. I see that all the time. Well, now AI is stealing money. So you got to watch everybody. Another fact, officials at the National Security Agency have said that the powers granted in Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act contribute to an average to 60% of classified intelligence found in the president's daily brief. All right. Scotland is famous for its Highland cows, a breed of cattle that look like a Texas Longhorn steer crossed with an English sheepdog. Oh yeah, I know what those are. They're kind of funny looking, but they're cool. Yep. Recent report by the charity Oxfam said 1% of Mexico's population possessed 40% of the country's wealth. 1% of Mexico's population possessed 40% of the country's wealth. Sounds like Anchorman. 60% of the time, it works every time. According to a new poll by Reuters and Ipsos, just 16% of Americans said it was appropriate for Donald Trump to hold an Ultimate Fighting Championship bout at the White House this weekend. Yeah, they're doing some UFC fighting at the White House. I heard it's going to cost like $60 million total dollars. So, enjoy paying for that. During a version of Romeo and Juliet for the public, Theater Shakespeare in the Park in New York, a real couple is summoned on stage, prearranged every night for an actual marriage or a vow renewal. Well, that's very nice. Isn't that nice? Aw. Real people are getting married. And then the same people go to the play Kramer vs. Kramer and they get it annulled. That's wonderful. All right. Let's see what else we have here. In the New York Times. La 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 bam bam bam. I don't want to read about Iran. What can we read to you? I remember. Oh, let's read about this. All right. In new apology, judge calls conduct offensive. A federal judge who was reprimanded for having a years-long affair with a police commander in court chambers, among other ethical lapses, wrote a second round of apology letters to her former clerks this week, saying her offensive conduct was patently wrong. I have no excuse, and I immensely regret my behavior, wrote Judge Eleanor Ross, a veteran jurist in federal court in Atlanta. And there's a picture over here. I have no excuse, she says. The letters were an extraordinary admission from sitting federal judge who is facing censure and calls for impeachment. She might have some impeachment problems here, but everyone's human. They follow a rebuke from a chief judge as well as comments from former clerks who said that she was too dismissive in her earlier apologies. Also, they made her redo them. You know, you really weren't apologizing here. So they said redo them. The scandal and the initial punishment meted out to Judge Ross underscored the leniency that is often afforded to federal judges who hold lifetime appointments. The case also raised questions about a disciplinary system that leaves it up to judges to police their colleagues' behavior. Judge Ross's admissions come from a New York Times report that included interviews with 3 former clerks who said clerks had several times heard her having sex through the office door. That's not good, people. The clerks also said she had flobbed off her duties on them, regularly rubber stamping their draft orders and lawsuits. One clerk reported the behavior last year, setting in motion an inquiry from a judicial committee that ended last month in a private reprimand. In light of the punishment from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit's Judicial Council, Judge Ross had agreed to send 6 of her former clerks apology letters. But the Times reported that some clerks were offended by the brevity and vagueness of the 3-sentence letters. 3 sentences. Yep, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And I'm just going to say that, in case you haven't heard, I'm sorry. All right, let's move on. Some former clerks had shared with Chief Judge William Pryor, Jr. of the 11th Circuit, who wrote to Judge Ross this week saying he was considering opening a new inquiry. The new letters were issued on Thursday, and Judge Ross shared one with the Times. The initial letter was entirely, let me see here what he goes. Okay. Defiant, as it she did not take full accountability. Here's where we are. She did not take full accountability for her actions, and she failed to give the apology that you deserve, Judge Ross wrote. So she basically saying the first letters, they weren't good enough. But, you know, you have to say the first letters were probably how she really felt. Because when you write your first apology, that's how you really felt. When you write your second apology, you're writing it based on what others want. She don't care. Because if she cared, she wouldn't be doing what she's doing in the office, and she wouldn't be making enough noise that she didn't care that they heard her. So her letters basically said, yep, sorry. Renee Jefferson, a law professor at the University of Houston, said that in her 2 decades of research on legal ethics, she could not think of any instance in which a judge was forced to rewrite an apology as part of a sanction. It appears the only reason Judge Ross had been asked to redo her apology, she added, is because of public outcry over the lack of meaningful discipline. The public deserves better from the federal judiciary and its discipline process. Judge Ross's latest apology didn't satisfy one of the clerks who complained about her initial letter. The clerk told the Times that it appeared the judge expressed remorse only when forced to do so. Exactly. Isn't that what we all just said? Judge Ross's misconduct, which also included lying to colleagues as well as attending a campaign event for Fannie Wills, the Fulton County District Attorney, has emerged at a moment when the judiciary credibility is under attack from a White House unhappy with rulings about limited presidential power. The letters from Judge Ross contain no indication that she might give up her job, despite calls for her to resign from the U.S. District Court for Northern District of Georgia. Judge Ross was nominated to the federal bench in 2014 by President Barack Obama. 2 Republican congressmen have recently filed impeachment resolutions citing her misconduct. The Justice Department is asking that she recuse herself from a high-profile lawsuit before her. In that case, the Justice Department is seeking Georgia's voter rolls from the state's top elections official and has argued that Judge Ross's attendance at the event for Ms. Willis gave at least the appearance of bias. Ms. Willis, a Democrat, tried to prosecute President Trump for interfering in the 2020 election. The Justice Department asked that the judge make a decision on recusing by Friday, though it's unclear if she will do so. Judge Ross had worked as a prosecutor and later as a state court judge before assuming the federal bench. She gained some prominence in 22 for overseeing the trial of Todd and Julie Crisley. Oh, yeah, the reality show people that were convicted of tax evasion. You know, he knows best. He didn't know everything, did he? Judge Ross' scandal comes amid a spate of alleged misbehavior by federal judges. There are active misconduct complaints into the appellate judge, who was charged with 2 misdemeanors after confronting another driver in an Idaho parking lot, and a district court judge in Michigan who was pleaded not guilty to charge of violating probation from an earlier misdemeanor DUI conviction. No one's an angel, even the judges. Gabe Roth, who leads Fix the Court, a judicial reform group, said there were innate problems with allowing judges to dole out one another's punishment. Baked into the current rules is ability to judge to run interference for each other, he said. That's what we have here. Well, you know, she shouldn't have been doing what she's doing, but I don't know. If this was some guy in business, I don't think anybody would care. All right. I think we did this section to death. What's in business? Is there anything good in business, people? You know, real quick on this World Cup, they are guessing that okay, so they are guessing the amount of gambling. So in 2022, there was $1.8 billion worth of gambling. I'm not sure how they tracked that, but they did. And now they're saying the projected amount with the United States with online sportsbook betting, they are guessing $4.4 billion. That is insane. That is a lot of money, huh? All on the World Cup. These papers never want to fold the right way. All right. Gotta show it who's boss here. Oh, listen to this. Amazon of South Korea gets fined $409 million. Do you have an extra $409 million laying around to say, we made a boo-boo? I don't. Okay? I don't even want to pay an extra $400 for a speeding ticket. So this says Amazon, there's a little picture of it, of South Korea gets fined $409 million. Let's see why. South Korea fined Coupang, the country's largest online retailer, a record $624.7 billion, won about $409 million on Thursday, holding it accountable for a massive breach of customer data and accusing it of illegally collecting personal information. The penalty imposed by the government's Personal Information Protection Commission on Coupang, often called the Amazon of South Korea, marked the largest data privacy fine in the country's history. It was also nearly twice as much as a $214 million annual profit that Coupang recorded last year. The company, which is incorporated in the United States but generates most of its revenue in South Korea, said it would challenge the ruling in court. Coupang and bipartisan members of Congress have accused the South Korean government of weaponizing regulatory proceedings against an American company. South Korean officials have defended their actions as due process, describing the American intervention an interference in South Korea's domestic affairs. They say Coupang's lobbying in Washington has been so intense that it gunned up talks between South Korea and the United States over a trade and security deal, the loss of which could lead to punitive American tariffs. On Thursday, the commission said the breach discovered last year exposed personal information from 33 million customer accounts and an additional 4 million non-members, including relatives of Q-paying users. It also said that the company had unlawfully collected and stored the online activity of 11 million users across third-party websites and apps. I'm telling you, all this stuff is no good. Can't have all this technology. It's not good. You need to go back to shopping. You want it, you go get it, and that's it. No one has all your stuff. You could even pay cash. They don't have to know you. Now you order something, the entire world knows who you are. They know what you're having for dinner. There's no doubt your phone hears you. Talk about something on your phone. Talk about something with your phone around in the house. Talk about a subject for a half hour. And one of your next news stories or things on your phone is going to have something to do with what you're talking about. There is no doubt about it. No doubt about it. It happens all the time. Okay. What else do we have here? Court upholds conviction for Bankman-Fried. A federal appeals court has upheld the conviction of cryptocurrency entrepreneur and FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried, finding that the 2023 trial that led to his 25-year prison sentence was not unfair. The second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan said Friday the government's evidence against him was conservatively stated robust. A jury found that Mr. Bankman-Fried defrauded customers and investors of billions of dollars where he operated FTX. Once the world's second largest cryptocurrency exchange, FTX collapsed in November of 22. The appeals court said that evidence proved that Mr. Bankman-Fried reassured FTX customers while also transferring billions of dollars for his own use in falsifying business records to conceal transactions. The Second Circuit rejected the defense argument that the trial was unfair because of a series of rulings by the judge that limited the evidence he could present. At Mr. Bankman-Fried's sentencing, Judge Lewis Kaplan criticized the entrepreneur's trial testimony, saying he repeatedly committed perjury on the witness stand and testimony that was often evasive, hair-splitting, and dodging questions. Judge Kaplan also said Mr. Bankman-Fried should not be credited because some investors and customers might recover some money. He noted that customers lost about $8 billion, investors lost $1.7 billion, and lenders were shortened by $1.3 billion. Mamma mia. Yeah, I think he should get some time, don't you? I mean, let's be real here. Loving you is 'cause you're beautiful. La 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 da, ba da 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 da, la da 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 da. Here we go. All right. You hear this? This is newspaper. This isn't any big AI technology. This is old-fashioned newspaper bending, yapping about what's happening in the world. That's right. There's a long story here. I'm not going to have time, but I just want to mention, daughter of Mrs. Fields starts a healthy cookie brand. Bites with more protein and claims to improve brain power and sleep. I just wanted to improve my experience watching the game. I just want some cookies and some happiness. If I want some brain power and sleep, I'll eat a carrot. I'll play a game and go to bed. So she's Ashley Fields, one of the 5 daughters of Debbie Fields, the founder of Namesake Cookie Brand. Has all this family sweet treat recipes memorized by heart. Growing up in a baking family, I learned how to bake, said Miss Fields, who lives in Austin, Texas. But I learned how to bake with science-baked ingredients. That was something that I've learned myself and figured out and failed through trial and error. So now what she's doing is she's making cookies with some health. I think a healthy cookie is an oxymoron. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? A healthy cookie, it's not a cookie. It's not. So good for her. This goes on forever, but basically, Ashley Fields, there's a lot of pictures of her cookies and her on here with her apron on, and she's at a mixer. Ashley Fields, co-founder of Fields Good, a cookie company with 3 varieties and nearly $2 million in venture capital funding. The most important thing for me is not to interfere, said her mother, Debbie Fields, of Mrs. Fields. Oh, above in 1983. Wow, they look alike. If you look at her mom back in 83 and you look at the daughter, it is insane. I thought both pictures were the daughter. So good for her. There's another article that continued about the sports betting from the World Cup. That is on page B4. And they're saying that if the United States loses early, that could put a dampening on the betting. An early U.S. exit would most likely dampen betting activity, while a deeper run would materially amplify media attention and operator marketing, creating a broader tunnel for casual betting across the tournament. Mr. Grove says, Fanatics will pay all of its gambling customers $10 for every goal the U.S. team scores throughout the tournament. We expect the first USA match to be 5 times the handle of any other team playing in early rounds of the tournament. So there's going to be a lot of betting, and the longer the United States goes, the more betting there's going to be. All right, so now the Knicks are 1 game away from winning the championship, and people in New York are losing their mind. The police presence, you should see this picture. The police presence that's out in New York City after a game is insane. I don't know why people have to destroy their own city. You know, just enjoy the moment. Check this out. Here's the thing. It says, one person bit a police officer and punched another after New York Knicks defeated the Spurs in Game 2 of the NBA Finals. A second person was carrying a loaded gun. Outside a watch party in Brighton Park on Monday, when the Spurs won Game 3, several men yanked trees from their roots and threw glass at police officers. One Spurs fan was beaten and had his jersey ripped off as he walked back to his hotel. When one New Yorker... let's see, what does it say? Oh, yeah, one New Yorker admonished fans who were shaking a tree sign loose. They attacked him, too. And on Wednesday, after the Knicks came back to win Game 4, which was the biggest comeback in NBA Finals history, by the way, someone threw a garbage can at Victor Wembanyama, which is like the San Antonio Spurs giant kid. He's like 7'5". He's the Spurs center. As he walked to a hotel. These convulsions of violence have generated headlines, but for a city of more than 8 million people, such episodes have been relatively sparse. Still, they have revealed a certain frenetic energy beneath the glee and euphoria running through the city this week. Roster celebrations are as time-tested a tradition as organized sports themselves. In Philadelphia, the fandom is so passionate, but the city has taken to greasing light poles before big games. That's crazy. 56 people were taken into custody after the Knicks won a game. Can you imagine how much of an idiot you feel like sitting in jail? You just watched a cool game, the biggest comeback in NBA Finals history, and an hour later, you're in prison. You know, you might be going crazy. I don't know, maybe they think it's what they're doing is fun, whatever. But again, how dumb do you feel sitting in jail because you just have to be an idiot after such a big win where you should be, having fun, going to a bar, have a drink, celebrating with your city. Instead, people destroy it. If you get arrested after a sporting event where you're beating someone up or you're just trashing your city or police, it should be an automatic 30 days. This way, everyone starts to think, not worth it. Give them an automatic 30 days. Right from the moment it happens. You take them in the car, you bring them down to the station, you book them up, you send them down to the holding center, and they stay for 30 days. And then they could decide if it was worth trashing a sign, beating up another fan, throwing garbage cans at players. It's kind of dumb. Okay. That Stanley Cup's still going. I'm really hoping Vegas comes back. They just got trounced by Carolina the other day, like 4-2. And, Vegas looked helpless against Carolina this time. And, they're allowing a lot of goals, really. But maybe if they win they're going to have to win in Vegas to make it 3-3 to get a chance to go to Carolina for Game 7. And once you get to Game 7, anything can happen. And usually does. Ask the Sabres. All right. What do we have here? It's almost time to cook, people. It is almost time to cook. Cook some food. I've been watching that Italy show with that actor's last name is Tucci. And it's pretty cool because, when people go to Italy, and I have not yet, you don't get the same treatment, like they do when they do these shows. They get such, they go to different things that your normal trip isn't going to take you to. And the food is unbelievable. They're making a thing called timbala, I believe it's called. It's kind of like a lasagna, but they use like a crepe type of material. And don't tell these Italian nonas that it's a crepe because they will not go for it. But it is kind of like a crepe type of thing. And then they layer it that way, and they have like their sauce and some meats and some mini meatballs. Some even chop up some carrots and onion and put it on like a layer. I didn't see him put any ricotta in there or nothing like that, but they do as many layers as you can, and then you cook it for like an hour. Some tip it over like a cake type of thing, and then some just eat it from the pan like lasagna. But that's something I'm going to definitely have to try. So here's the thing about South Carolina's crucial role in the fight for independence. It's sometimes overlooked. So behind Charleston's charm of bloody history. So it talks about going to Charleston. There's always these articles about where to go, and there's really nice pictures of Charleston, South Carolina. Beautiful house. There's a sheep like on this lawn. Out of nowhere. Really nice, though. Historical looking things. And there's a lot of things to visit. It says you can go to a thing called the Swamp Fox. On a hot afternoon, he drove out to Charleston into the woods to glimpse the interior and its storied past. You have to cross Francis Marion National Forest. General Marion, the name of that launched 1,000 namesake. There's a city of Marion and a lake in Francis, Maryland University. And there's Mel Gibson's, whose character in The Patriot he inspired more than a hero. Maryland is considered a legend whose guerrilla tactics reshaped the course of war and earned him the nickname Swamp Fox. This is a city that fell to the British and a state that wouldn't stop fighting. It says clockwise on the top, all these pictures. Maryland Square is the site of fortification known as the Hornwork. Middleton Place hosts a museum that tells of enslaved people who lived in that area. Revolutionary flags flutter. Brutal guerrilla warfare once played out at Black Mingo Creek. So there's all kinds of very historical things you can do here, and places to visit. It's definitely a different type of trip. You know, we were just talking today in my kitchen about, like, where do you want to go, you know, what you want to do, and do you want to go, like, Italy or other places? And my wife said, you know, there's a lot of places in the United States that we've never seen and things as well, and that is true. That is a place. I am going to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach in July. I don't think I'm going to hit Charleston, but who knows, maybe we could. There's another thing here about going to the Isle of Skye, Scotland, and all the things you can do there. There's all kinds of cool-looking cattle and castles and old-time-looking restaurants and stuff here. The illustrations, which are pretty cool. Oh, look at this. There's some food here. I know you're shocked I found the food. How about some crispy mustard chicken with breadcrumbs? I went on about Dijon mustard last week, and this is another excellent way to use it, courtesy of Melissa Clark. The Dijon heroically flavors the chicken while helping the golden layer of breadcrumbs adhere to the meat. It's the glue for the crisp toupee, they say. What are we going to need here? 3 pounds bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs, 3 pounds. Or use a mix of thighs and drumsticks. 3/4 teaspoon kosher salt, such as Diamond Crystal, plus more for sprinkling. 1/4 cup unsalted butter melted. 1 1/4 cup panko breadcrumbs, or use regular breadcrumbs. 1/4 cup Dijon mustard. 2 garlic cloves grated. 1½ tablespoons fresh thyme leaves chopped. 1 tablespoon extra virgin olive oil, plus more for drizzling. 1 teaspoon Worcestershire sauce. And 1 teaspoon finely grated lemon zest, plus lemon wedges for serving. 1/2 teaspoon red pepper flakes. And 1/4 teaspoon freshly ground black pepper. It says there's 5 things we're going to do with all this. What are we going to do? First, you're going to heat the oven to 400 degrees. Line a rimmed baking sheet with parchment paper. Sprinkle chicken thighs lightly with salt. All right then. Number 2, in a small bowl, stir together the melted butter, panko, and 1/4 teaspoon salt until the panko is well coated. 3, in a medium bowl, combine the mustard, garlic, thyme, olive oil, Worcestershire sauce, lemon zest, red pepper flakes, black pepper, and remaining 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I've said salt a lot. Like, this is definitely some salt. 4, lightly brush the thighs all over with Dijon mixture and place them on the prepared baking sheet, skin sides up. Top evenly with panko mixture and drizzle lightly with oil. Doesn't look bad, really. People, it doesn't look bad. My little sweat hogs from all over New York. It does not look bad. It looks pretty. Like, you could pick one of these up and just eat it. It looks delicious. Number 5, bake for 35 to 45 minutes or until the chicken is cooked through and the panko topping is golden brown. If you want more color on the thighs, broil on high for 30 seconds to 1 minute, watching closely. Don't burn it. Oh, you're going to burn it. You're going to watch the game too long. You're going to be doing something. You're going to be looking at something, and you're going to burn it. I knew it. Serve with lemon wedges, people. Serve with lemon wedges. All right, and there you go. There is your chicken. It takes 40 to 50 minutes. It's not the end of the world, and you're going to get 4 to 6 servings. That is nice. Mm-hmm. Yep. What else do we have here? Sheet pan ravioli with burst tomatoes. Well, this is fun. In this recipe from Hetty Lou McKinnon, you throw store-bought ravioli onto a sheet pan with tomatoes, garlic, and oil, and within 30 minutes, you have dinner. Scatter basil leaves on top to dress it up a little. Isn't that wonderful? So, Hetty Lou McKinnon, this takes 45 minutes, and 4 people can enjoy it. 4 servings. So what are we going to need to make Hetty's Happy Raviolis? 2 pounds of mixed tomatoes such as cherry, grape, Roma, or beefsteak cut into irregular shapes. Don't make it regular. Make it irregular. We need 4 garlic cloves, thinly sliced. 1/4 cup extra virgin olive oil. 24 ounces frozen or refrigerated ravioli. No need to thaw the frozen variety. Your salt and pepper. Grated pecorino for serving. Handful basil leaves for serving. Here's what we're going to do. Not a lot of ingredients there, really, right? Heat the oven to 450 degrees. Place it. That was 1. That's it. Heat the oven. You're done with step 1. This is very easy. See? You already did it. You're on to number 2. Place the tomatoes, garlic, and olive oil on a rimmed sheet pan. Season with salt and pepper and toss to combine. Add the ravioli and toss to coat them well. Place in the oven and roast for 20 minutes. Number 2, done. Number 3, remove the sheet pan from the oven using a flat spatula. A flexible fish spatula works well here. Carefully lift the ravioli and tomatoes and gently toss. Return to the oven and cook until ravioli is crispy around the edges and the tomatoes have collapsed. Another 5 to 10 minutes. That was 3. Number 4, when ready, remove from the oven and gently stir to combine. Season with salt and lots of pepper. And top with grated pecorino. Top with basil leaves and serve immediately. And let's not forget the bread or rolls. Okay? You have to dunk with the bread or rolls. You have to dunk. I don't know what they're doing here. Okay? No one, every time they do an Italian dish, they never dunk with the rolls. They never talk about the rolls. So, all right. So, we've come to that time. You've been listening to a reading of the New York Times for Saturday, June 13th, 2026. For more information, call 716-821-5555. Your reader has been Joe Gibbs. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. See you later, my little sweat hogs.